The Overlook Hotel doesn't begin with screams. It begins with paperwork. A caretaker signs his name. A winter contract. A quiet promise that nothing will go wrong. He walks the empty halls before the snow comes in. Touches the walls. Imagines the work he'll finally get done. And the hotel listens. It doesn't show him ghosts. It doesn't threaten him. It waits. Because it's seen this man before. Different face, same damage. Most haunted house stories ask the same question. What happened here? The Shining asks something much more uncomfortable. Why does this place keep finding the same kind of man? Because the Overlook Hotel isn't just haunted. It's selective. And Jack Torrance isn't the first person it's tested. He's just the one who finally says yes. Have you noticed that the Overlook does not attack everyone equally? It watches. Danny sees things immediately, but the hotel doesn't want him. Wendy senses danger, but she resists it. Jack is perfect. Because the Overlook isn't interested in innocence. It feeds on damage. Old wounds. Old resentments. Old justifications. That's why the hotel doesn't scream at Jack right away. It agrees with him. It whispers things Jack already believes. You were wronged. Your talent was wasted. Your anger is justified. Your family doesn't appreciate you. The hotel never forces Jack to become violent. It just keeps validating the version of himself he's been protecting for years. That's not possession. That's recruitment. Is Shining really an addiction story? This part matters, so let's be precise. Stephen King has explicitly said, in interviews and in Danse Macabre, that The Shining was written during his own struggle with alcoholism, and that Jack Torrance reflects fears he had about himself as a husband and father. So no, it's not only an addiction story. But yes, the addiction framework is intentional and foundational, not accidental. Jack's alcoholism isn't a backstory. It's the instruction manual the Overlook uses. Think about how addiction works. It isolates you. It reframes reality. It gives you a voice in your head that sounds reasonable. It convinces you that other people are the problem. That's exactly how the hotel behaves. The Overlook doesn't say, kill your family. It says, you've tried so hard. You deserve respect. They're holding you back. Which is terrifying because none of that sounds supernatural. It sounds like relapse. Jack doesn't fall apart suddenly. He slides. And that's why the horror feels inevitable instead of shocking. Most people talk about Danny's Shining like it's a superpower. It's not. It's a trauma response. We've seen this pattern in other novels. In Room by Emma Donoghue, the child becomes hyper-attuned to emotional shifts because survival depends on it. In The Road, the boy develops moral awareness far beyond his years, not because he's gifted, but because danger never turns off. Danny is the same. Children in unsafe homes often become hyperaware. Reading tone changes. Predicting explosions. Sensing danger before it happens. Danny's gift is that instinct turned supernatural. And Tony isn't a ghost guide. Tony is Danny's mind creating distance from unbearable knowledge. A way to warn himself without breaking. That's why Tony never explains everything. He shows fragments, images, impressions, because knowing too much, too clearly would destroy him. And this is crucial. The Overlook doesn't just threaten Danny physically. It threatens to collapse his coping system. That's why scenes like Room 217 matter so much, not because of what's inside, but because the hotel is trying to overwhelm Danny's ability to process fear safely. Wendy Torrance doesn't get enough credit, and that's partly intentional. She isn't written as dominant. She's written as enduring. Wendy knows Jack is dangerous long before the hotel confirms it. She's been managing his moods, minimizing his anger, protecting Danny quietly. Her strength isn't loud. It's resistant. And this puts her in a different category than many horror spouses. Compare her to Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, where the narrator slowly internalizes the house's judgment of her. The Yellow Wallpaper, where the environment convinces the woman that her suffering is imaginary. Wendy does neither. She doesn't internalize Jack's story. She doesn't accept the hotel's logic. She doesn't romanticize his pain. That's why the Overlook barely speaks to her. She's not usable. And in stories about predatory environments, that matters. Here's the creepiest idea in the novel, and one of the least explored. The Overlook isn't full of ghosts. It's full of replayed trauma. The parties, the violence, the cruelty. None of it feels alive. It feels stuck. The hotel doesn't remember the past. It repeats it. And Jack is drawn into that loop because he already lives there mentally. He's always reliving his failures, his humiliations, his resentment. The hotel just gives those memories a stage. That's why time feels wrong in the Overlook. Because trauma collapses time. It's always happening now. Yes, Jack has a moment of clarity at the end. But notice what it takes. Not love, not memory, not reflection. It takes total destruction. Jack can only break free when there's nothing left of him to protect. And that's the tragedy. Because the novel isn't saying redemption is impossible. It's saying some systems consume you faster than insight can save you. The Overlook doesn't win because it's stronger. It wins because it's patient. The reason The Shining endures isn't the ghosts. It's the recognition. We recognize Jack's rationalizations. We recognize Wendy's vigilance. We recognize Danny's quiet fear. The Overlook feels real because it behaves like systems we already know. Addiction, abuse, generational trauma, institutions that preserve harm. The hotel doesn't need claws. It just needs time. And the most terrifying thing about the Overlook isn't what it does to people. It's how easily it waits for them to do it to themselves. That's why the hotel never really burns down. Because places like it don't need walls. They just need someone willing to listen.